Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Trevor, and we're doing another marketing webinar tonight, specifically on how to use the Blogger or Blogspot software, which is a very, very popular kind of blogging software, right? So I want to show you guys how to use it. In the last few weeks, we've talked mainly about why blogging is important and how to come up with blogging topics. Now it's time to implement it. And now it's time to create that really great content that's going to get traffic for us, if not just for the blog, for our website as well, right? So assuming you have your blog set up, we're going to go up here to the top here. I'm in a Gmail account, and this little icon right here brings up some Google apps, and I'm going to click on the Blogger app here. And again, this is assuming, of course, that you've set up a blog. And if you haven't, I've got some other material for that. Let's see if this will let me. I'm going to actually have to set one up right here. We're going to call this test blog or webinar. And I'm going to call this test blog Trevor 1. There we go. See if it'll let me. No, it's not going to let me create the blog really quick. So I'm going to log into a different account, guys, and we'll play with the Blogger account there. Hold on just a sec. I had one prepared just in case they wouldn't let me set one up on the spot like this. And sure enough, they didn't. So hold on just 1 second while I do this. Again, you should already have this done, right? But tonight, I'm not actually using a real blog. We're using a test blog just to kind of show you how to use it. All right. Okay, I'm going to use this one right here. Hopefully this one works for us. Let me log out of this Gmail account. And let's do this one right here. Okay, and we're going to go to Blogger. Here we go. So when you get to Blogger, it should look like this. It's got a blog that's been created. And then you just simply click on the blog and it takes you into your Blogger dashboard, okay? This is where all the magic starts. This is your dashboard. It's your overview screen. Those of you guys who have blogs, do you recognize this at all? I know a few of you guys have been working on your blogs. Bill, you specifically, I know you've been working on yours. This should look familiar, right? Because this is your overview screen. Yep. Okay, good. And then for those of you guys who haven't used your blog yet, if our marketing department created one for you, they'll have an admin link for you to click on that'll get you right here. Okay. All right, so this is what it looks like. Catherine, you want to see if we can make it bigger? We can. I can try to zoom in just a little bit. Let's see if this works. Does that look a little bit bigger? Is that better? Probably can't go any bigger than that. Okay, good. All right, so we're here on our overview. Couple of things that I just want to point out. You're going to see a page views section right here. Just at the very top, you're going to see some statistics. Okay. It'll show you stats on how many visitors your blog is getting. Now, if it's a blog that's active, you should see a line graph going up and down here. And if you want to see more statistics on what's actually happening on your blog and how many visitors you're getting, you're going to come right here to more stats. Okay. You click on more stats, and it'll take you into a detailed report of what's happening. Now, this is a newer blog. This is kind of like our test blog for tonight, so there's not any statistics here. But if you had a blog and you wanted to see how many people were coming to it, that sort of software to track your visitors is built right in. So right there, you should be able to see how well your blog is performing, okay? So that's what you have right here. Just down below, you're going to see Blogger gives out some news. And again, just so you know, Blogger is your software. So if I say the Blogger software or the Blogspot software, that's what this is. Google is the one that owns this program, so it's a Google product that we're using, and it's fabulous. Anybody who has a blog knows probably a little bit here about Blogger. Okay. All right, so here's the important part. I'm going to kind of briefly go through these menus here on the left, but we're going to spend more time on creating actual posts because I want you guys to be very comfortable with that, because ultimately that's 99% of your time in this software is going to be under the Post tab. Okay, so I'm going to skip that for now because we're going to come back to it and spend the remaining time on that specific section. Okay, so we've got pages just below that. A page on a blog is a lot like just a normal blog post. Okay, here's the big difference though. A page is static, it stays the same, and it usually is somewhere prominently on the site. Let me give you a good example of that. Okay, here's one of my blogs, financialnut.com. And traditionally, a blog is built out by two different pages, or two different pieces, I guess. You've got blog posts and pages. Well, here are a list of pages up here. They're just like normal web pages. If you click About, it takes you to an About section, an About page, right? If you click on Contact, it takes you to a Contact page, right? These are normal, sort of just static pages. And they would highlight, things that I want you to know about. So you can see on the financial blog, I'll zoom in here so you can see this a little bit better. These pages here, I used About, Contact, Advertise as one of my pages because I do a lot of advertising on this blog. I've got a blog roll page, archives, resources, etc. Tonight's not really the time to talk about what pages are essential to have on your blog. I just want to point out that a page is different than a blog post, okay? A blog post would be one of my date-stamped articles, okay? That would be like this one right here on the top that's date stamped October 20th, 2011. That's a blog post, whereas a page is more static, stays in the navigation, okay? Guys, does that make sense, the difference between pages and posts? Because when you come back over here into Blogger, you can create a series of pages, but most of the content you create is probably going to be an actual blog post, okay? Questions about that? Does that make sense, guys? So on a typical new blog, you'll probably have like an About page maybe, which we'll do tonight. In fact, we're going to create an About page right now. So we're under Pages. I can come up here and click New Page. And I'm going to call this About Us. Or we could call it About This Blog. And then we're going to put a little content here, right? Now, you'd probably take a few minutes and you'd write out a few things about your blog. For example, you'd write about maybe some of the content you're going to focus on. What's the purpose of the blog? Well, the purpose of this blog, we're going to say, the purpose of our blog is to educate our readers about pearls and everything related to pearl fashion, something like that, okay? If you want to learn more about us, come see our e-commerce site at, and then I could put in my web address right here, uptownpearl.com. Okay, there's my about this blog page. Now I can save it right here at the top right, and that'll just sort of save it as a draft. But if I publish it, it publishes it and makes it go live, so it's available for people to see. Okay, I'm going to hit publish on this. There we go. So I've got my first page here on the list. And I might create a second page. The second page you almost always want to have is a contact page. Okay? You could call this Contact Us maybe. If you need to get a hold of us, please contact us here. And an email is fine. Right? Put an email there. And obviously you want to spend some time on this content maybe, but I'll publish that too. It's got a Contact Us and About Us page. anyway. I mean, those are like the two core pages you might have. But you also might have this really, really informative piece of content that you want there as a page. And this piece of content might be for me. Okay, well, maybe we'll shorten it. We'll call it real pearls versus fake pearls, something like that. And then I might create a bunch of content here about that because I feel like that's very important, especially to my niche. Okay, so there's a page that I want to educate my viewers on. Okay, or my readers. So there you go. I've got my 3 pages. You can create more pages, but again, your pages are kind of like a, and I'll show you why. But they're a portion of your blog that's going to show up on all pages. Like there's always going to be a link to these pretty prominently on your blog. So you want whatever you make as a page to be something that's obviously very valuable to you. Okay. Those are pages. I'll show you how those display here in just a second. All right. So you've got a comment section right here. Whenever you get a comment on your blog, this is where you go to mark it as spam or approve it, or you can reply to it. So you've got a comment section. Of course, that's one of the big distinguishing characteristics of a blog, right? Is that there's usually comments that people are leaving on your site, and that's no different here. There'll be a comment section after every single one of your blog posts so that people can interact with you and respond to some of the things that you're writing. You manage it right here under comments, okay? You've got a Google Plus section, and of course Google would, because that's Google's own sort of social media account, Google Plus. Some of you guys have Google Plus accounts created for the business. If you don't, that's a topic for another time. But essentially what this page does is every time you create a blog post, you can make some functionality here where it automatically shares it out to Google Plus. Kind of a cool little feature. You'll notice they don't have one for Facebook or Twitter, and that's because Google doesn't own those. Of course, they're going to advertise their own social network there. But that's okay. That's kind of how that works. I won't spend a lot of time there. Stats, we've already talked about this to some extent. This is where you can see all your statistics on your site, which blog posts are doing well, what traffic sources, or in other words, where people are finding your blog, who your audience is. You can go through your statistics here, which will become valuable to you later. They're probably not going to be very valuable to you at the start because you'll have very little traffic, but this is where you would check it. There's also this earnings tab here, and earnings, they're really promoting their money-making strategy using what's called Google AdSense. Now, how many of you guys who are with me tonight actually know what that is? How many of you guys have heard of Google AdSense before? I know there's at least a few of you here that probably have. I haven't talked about it much. Some of you guys have heard of the name, others know. Okay, well, it's Google's little advertising network, and it's really neat how it works. We probably won't do it a whole lot right now, and I'm not going to really comment on it much other than to say that you can sign up for a Google AdSense account, and you can display advertisements on your blog. And when those advertisements get clicked on, you essentially get paid for the click, and you make money off of the click. So people who have blogs, guys, but don't have them associated with an e-commerce site might use Google AdSense as a way to make money on their blog. Now, most of you guys have like an e-commerce site that you're using the blog to try to promote, and you probably wouldn't need Google AdSense, not right now at least. But if you were just blogging strictly to make money off of the blog, you could connect this Google AdSense account to it, and you could make money that way for sure. Okay, good. So that's Google AdSense. I know that was a really brief explanation. We can talk about that more another time. I don't want to get too bogged down with that. Now, campaigns is another section. This is where you can actually pay Google to display your blog high in search results. You guys will very rarely, if never, use this at all because we're not going to be paying for advertising for our blog. So you can skip that. Now, layout is an interesting section here. Layout shows you how your blog is currently laid out. You've got a header at the top. You've got a right-hand sort of navigation section. You've got a left-hand column here where all your blog posts go. You can arrange this differently. Like this is kind of a drag and drop feature. And you also have what are called gadgets here, and you can see there's a little link there to add a gadget. A gadget is best explained like this, guys. If you have an iPhone or a smartphone, okay, like it's pretty good on its own. It'll make phone calls and you can check the internet or whatever, but if you want to improve your user experience with an iPhone, what do? You download an app, right? You can download applications onto your phone so you can use it for other things. Well, this is very similar. You've got a blog, but you can also download or upload these little gadgets onto your blog that will sort of improve the look and use of your blog, if that makes sense. So for example, we created some pages just a minute ago, right? So I can come here and I can hit add a gadget, and it lists a bunch of different apps. I mean, they're called gadgets, but I mean, if you're using my iPhone analogy, these would be similar to apps. And you can display like a search box on your blog. You can do a text box. You can display just a single image, which we might mess with here in just a second. But I'm going to display the pages one, okay? So I'm going to click pages. And it gives me an option as to what pages I want to display. And I'm going to display these three that I created, right? These are the ones we created just a minute ago. And I'm going to save it, okay? And sure enough, here's the pages listed here. Now, if at any time I want to see what I've just done to my blog, I can come up to this button here at the very top and hit View Blog. Okay? And I've got here's my blog. This is what it looks like so far, and I've just added these pages right here. Okay? Those are the pages I was talking about earlier. So we've got about this blog. Here's my about page. Here's my contact page. And here's my real versus fake pearls page. So these, like, no matter where somebody finds this blog, they're always going to see my pages here at the top right. That's why I want these to be prominent, important pages, okay? These other items listed here, this is an about me and this is a blog archive. These are other gadgets, or as I was calling them before, like apps for your blog, okay? We can come back here to where we were and you could add another one. I could add a gadget here. And I could choose, I mean, whatever. They all have different functions, right? I could choose an image one right here. Select image. And I can choose an image right here to upload from my computer. We'll see if I've got something downloaded here that we can use. Okay, I'll use, I guess it doesn't matter, right? We've got an image right here that I can use. Double click on it and I can upload it in. Here's my image, and I can hit, I probably should hit shrink to fit. That way it fits my column there on my blog, and I hit save. And that should add that image in. We'll take a look at it. Oh, I've got to put a title in. Call this test image up here. I'll put here's where my caption goes, just so you can kind of see what this does. If I wanted to link my image, I could. I want to link this to, you know, my website, financialnut.com or whatever, and hit save. That should do it. There we go. There goes my test image. Okay, let's view the blog. And there we go. I've got an additional image there on my blog. And that image is going to show up every single time somebody finds my blog, right? Because it's in this right-hand column. And that's the thing with blogs you guys got to understand. And we've talked about this at some length before, but when somebody finds your blog, they're not going to find you through your blog homepage necessarily. They're going to do a very specific search about how to decide whether or not a pearl is real or fake. And they do this search, and one of my blog posts that I've written about that subject comes up, and they click on it. Well, they'll come to that blog post, and then on the right-hand side, they'll see all of these things. This stays constant, okay? So whatever you put here, you need to make sure it's something important and that you want people to see all the time, okay? So let me go back here. That's your layout section. There's a lot more we could do here. You can add gadgets to the bottom of your blog or up here towards the top. There's even a header section right here where you can add your own header. If I edit this, you'll notice I already added a header onto this. I uploaded a logo, but you can put a logo there, and anyway, that's where the logo comes from. Otherwise, it would just be normal text, right? So this is kind of where you design the look of your blog. In other words, okay. Questions about the layout section? Let me know. I'm going to click over here to template. There's a bunch of different templates that you can use, that you can choose from. I usually prefer, and so do our designers who do a lot of blog development, they take a really nice clean white blog with a lot of white space. It looks a little nicer, it's a little more modern, but you can see over here there's different templates that you can choose from. And I could click this black template and use this if I wanted to. And it gives you a little preview of what it might look like. Or I could use this red template right here. So depending on the color scheme of your site, I mean, you could get more creative and use a different template. But in most cases, guys, if I were you, I would use a white, modern-looking, really nice-looking template. And that's this basic one right here. That's the one I would use. It's the second one on the simple list. And I think in most cases, that's what you're going to want to use. Okay, so that's template. Settings is another section. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in settings. There's some more advanced stuff that you would do here. You can change your blog address, and you can change some permission-based things. You've got other preferences. I'm not going to spend time there because I want to get into what really I wanted to talk about tonight, and that's creating content for your blog. So I'm going to skip back up here to the top to the post section. Okay. You guys can see that I'm here now. I've got one blog post on the site total, and you'll see it here when you come to the blog. It's the only thing that shows up. It was posted Thursday, April 16th of 2015. It was just a little test post, okay? But we're going to post our second one, right? So we're going to come over here, and we can add a new blog post. It's really pretty simple. You hit this orange button right here, New Post, okay? Up the top, you've got to title it. So you can put in your title. We'll call this Real versus Fake Pearls. What's the difference anyway? Okay, that'll be our title. And remember, guys, these are individual blog entries. Your title needs to be compelling. It's almost like you're writing an article for a newspaper. Usually when you're reading a newspaper, whoever wrote the article is going to write some sort of a title that's going to capture your attention and try to bring you in to read their article. And it's no different here. We want sort of an attention-grabbing title, right? And that's not bad. I mean, that doesn't have a lot of shock value. We could do something a little bit better, I guess. We could do something like, "Don't get ripped off buying pearls ever again," or something. Okay, maybe that's got a little more shock value to it, but you want a good title here. And then what's nice about Blogger is it's really, really easy to create your content. I mean, it looks very similar to just any sort of normal word processor, like a Microsoft Word or something similar that you would have used in the past to write a paper or whatever, right? So you've got a template, a white template right here. And then you can go ahead and you can start creating your content. Now I'm just going to create a bunch of dummy content here. Actually, to make this look a little more legit, let me just grab a copied article. If you ever need ideas for blog posts, you can come here. It's called easingarticles.com. I use this all the time just to come up with other ideas. But let me find a little article written about pearls that we can use as an example. This one right here, Tahitian Pearls Buying Guide. I'm going to just copy this. Now, guys, would it ever be valuable if I had a blog to copy somebody else's article? Would it be something that we would do on our blog? And I'm asking you guys based on some of the stuff you've learned in the past. See, there you go. I just copied that article on there. That was easy, right? Vince, why? Why would we not want to copy this article? because we could do it legally. We could give the person credit. I could give the person credit here at the top and cite where I got the article. I could link back to the person's website, right? Yeah. I like what you said there. Google will know, right, Bill? like they're big brother, aren't they? Google will know. And you said it well too, Catherine. You said it's not unique content. So okay, that's true, but why does that matter? Why does Google care about our content being taken from somewhere else? It's not original. Yep, and if it's not original, how well is it going to rank in their search engine? Not well, right? Yeah, I mean, there's no way, like, you can't create a blog and then go copy a bunch of content that's already been written. And you could do it legally, you could give permission to those people, but you wouldn't gain anything. Your blog wouldn't get found in Google. You wouldn't rank well. Copied content never works. It's okay to copy a little paragraph here and there and maybe cite something or quote something, but 99.9% of the content that you create on your blog should be totally unique. Never written anywhere else. The subject matter isn't going to be unique, right? It's not like you're going to go out there and write something that's never been written about. Although I guess that's possible. It's not likely, right? You're going to take topics that have been written about and you're going to put them in your own words and you're going to post about them like we talked about last week. So no, we're not. We'd never copy anything, and I know I've talked a lot about that in the past. But let's just, I want to put a plug in for that so we don't run into that problem. All right, but for the sake of this example tonight, I'm just going to pretend like I wrote this article, right? This is something I wrote completely uniquely. This is my content that I'm putting onto the blog. Now, question for you guys. When we're creating content on our blog, how long should the blog post be? Because this one is actually pretty lengthy, right? In fact, I can copy and paste this into, let's copy and paste this into wordcounter.net, and that's going to tell me how many words this is. This is almost 1,000 words. It's pretty long, right? So that article is 1,000 words. Is there a rule? There's not. There's no rule for this. So that's the nice thing about the blog. If you're creating content, you could create a blog post that's very short, 100 words. You could create one that's 500 words. You could do 1,000 words. You could do 2,000 words. There's no rules, right? But the truth is, and I agree with you, Jada, people have a short attention spans. Like, you're not going to want a novel for a blog post. I find that most of my blog posts in the past were around 500 words. Now, there's nothing magical about that, but that's a good round number, and it's a good length. It's not too long. It's not too short. But the real answer should be, whatever you're actually writing about here, use as much words as you need, or use as many words as you need to make sure you cover what you're supposed to be covering. So, you know, in this case, if I were actually writing about don't get ripped off buying pearls ever again, let's just make sure I have enough content to really answer that well. This is all about creating really good, useful content for people that are out there on the internet. Like we've talked about in previous webinars, you don't want to create crappy content, right? Quick, slap together content that really doesn't do the internet or the world any good, for that matter. That's problematic, right? It's not going to ever rank well because it's not well done. It's not really providing any value. You want to look at what kind of value you're adding to the internet here with the content you're creating. And if you're consistently really trying to create good content that's well written and that has some visual appeal and that answers some questions, then your blog is going to do what we want it to do. It'll probably start ranking better. People are going to anonymously start linking to it, and we're going to accomplish some of the stuff that we want to accomplish. So your content has to be good, which is why I want to have this webinar tonight, because mainly I want to look at this and I want to, with you guys, talk about what makes content good first, and second, just how to format your content so it doesn't look too amateurish, right? So we're going to use some of these tools here. Let me see what was written here. Kirk, you said, does less is more sort of apply when posting a blog? I guess I kind of just answered that, but yeah, you said question answered. It just depends, I guess, right? It just depends. Less can be more if it was done really well and it answers your question and covers the scope of what you were trying to talk about. Araceli asked, do we need to submit our blog in another site like we do with our own website? No, not necessarily. No, your blog is going to kind of stand alone. Like the reason why most of us are doing blogs here is specifically to help drive traffic to our e-commerce store. And so you're not going to do any specific blog marketing, not at this stage anyway. We're really just going to get in there and create really good, solid content, at least for now. Okay, so looking back at this is a word processor, right? Like anything else, it's just a little bit different. This is a WYSIWYG right up here at the top. If you've been to some of my webinars in the past, we've talked about WYSIWYGs. A WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. And that means that this content that we're creating right here is actually in code, right? If I click on the HTML button right here, this code right here that looks pretty awful, right, is what's going to make up this content, okay? So we can come here and we can edit our content and make it look nice. Now, something this long, I would argue, would need maybe some headings or some subheadings. So I might put, you know, heading 1 right here, heading number 1, and I might bold this, okay? You've got the little bold button right there. You can highlight it and bold it. I could probably increase the size on this. I can create a heading right there, and there's a heading. So there's heading 1. I could do another heading. Right? Heading. There's heading 2. I could create subheadings. Right? Here's a subheading if I feel like I need to break it up. But I'm not going to, I mean, you need a longer piece of content if you're going to break it out into headings and subheadings typically. And if I were you, I would look at how some of your competitors' blogs are formatting their blogs so you can have an idea of maybe what's effective. But that's how you do headings and subheadings. You can change your fonts if you want to. You can do italics and underline and just kind of a lot of the normal stuff that a word processor could do. I could change this to red, right? Or I could highlight this section if I wanted to. I could highlight it yellow, right? So you can really kind of edit this stuff. If I want to create a link, I can do that. Bill, you did a good job on your blog creating links. I could highlight, you know, whatever I wanted to and make sure it links. Okay, so if let's say, for example, I've got a piece of text here that relates to one of my e-commerce products on my site, I could highlight the text like that, and I could click this link option, and I can link it to my website or a page on my website. I just need to know what that page is. Right, I put in a website address right here, and I hit OK, and that creates a link right here in my content, okay? Now remember, it's easy to get a web address, right? So if I wanted to grab something from my website, uptownpearl.com, and if I was writing very specifically about maybe a specific type of pearl necklace or whatever the case may be, I might go to that specific product page like I'm doing right now, and I might come up here and grab this URL so that my link will take me directly there on my blog. So right here, assuming I'm talking about this specific product, I'm going to highlight it just like that. I'm going to click link, and I'm going to paste my link in right here and hit OK. And just like that, I've got a link that's going to a product. So as you're creating your content for your blog, occasionally, where it makes sense, link to appropriate places. What you don't want is you don't want your content to have a bunch of links everywhere, like every other word is a link kind of thing. You want your links to be periodic. They need to make some sense as to why you're linking. Anyway, so I won't talk any more about that, but that's how you create a link. If we wanted to add a picture to our blog post, and I think in a lot of cases, guys, it makes sense to try to have images on your blog. It's pretty easy to do. So right here in the middle of this text, I put my cursor in and I can click this image button right here. And it'll tell me to select a file, and I'm going to choose it from my computer because most of the time, if you're going to put a picture on your blog, it needs to already have been downloaded to your computer. So I'm going to go to choose files right here. It'll bring up my computer, and I'm going to find an image. Let's click on this one. This is just a random picture. I'm not even sure what this is. Here we go. It's some colored pencils, right? And I'm going to hit Add Selected. So I'm going to click on it so it highlights blue, and I'm going to click Add Selected. And there's my picture, okay? Now, if at any time, guys, I want to see my work, I can hit Preview right here. There's a little Preview button at the top right. And there we go. Here's my blog post that I've created so far. It doesn't look very pretty, does it? And there's nothing consistent about it. And can I just say, for the most part, guys, the basic principles of creating just good content should apply here. Not too many colors in the text. You should probably go black on white, right? Or at least a dark colored text on a lighter background. Black on white, I think, looks nice and is probably what you should stick with. And that's kind of the default. You can see my picture here that I created. Sort of centers in with the text a little bit, right? Now you can manipulate your picture quite a bit. Let's go back here. I can click on my image once, and it actually sized it down to a medium size. I could change that to a larger size if I wanted, or extra large, and then I could preview it and see how it looks, and I'm sure that'll look awful. There you go. It doesn't even fit on the screen very well, right? See that? So you can manipulate the size of your picture just a little bit. But in order to manipulate it, it needs to be a good size originally. I could choose the original size, but this was a huge, huge picture. So I'm just going to go with medium and keep it down a little bit. You can put a caption on it. You can put a keyword in right here in the alt text. Some of you guys have learned about alt tags on images. You could run a keyword there if you wanted. SEO is something you're going to want to apply to a lot of your blog posts, and we may need to do another webinar on that. We'll do that a little bit later, but you can do some SEO on here. Anyway, so that's images. You can align them differently, left, center. Anyway, so I would argue that you probably should have some sort of visual appeal on these blog posts. Have some images. Use some product images if you need to. A good place to get some free images, which is another, we just don't have time to fit it all in tonight, guys, but here's one where I get free images. sxc.hu, freeimages.com it's called. You have to create an account here, but once you create your account, the images are totally free. There's no copyright issues with any of these, so you can come in, and I just did a search for pearls, and here's an image of some pearls that I could download, and I wouldn't have to worry about copyright. I want you to be careful about the images you put on your blog. I don't want you to violate any copyright out there. It's one thing to do images on eBay. It's another to do images on a blog, and I want us to be especially careful about the images we choose for our blog. Let's just make sure we don't run into any copyright issues, right? We'll comment on that more another time, but you can at least use product images. In this freeimages.com would be a good spot just to get some other, general images to represent your content a little bit better. There is. So to sort of make the text work with the image, there is a way to do that, Catherine. Let me see. Let's see if I remember how to do that. Yeah, I think you use left or right, kind of like this, right? So it runs with the text a little bit. If we preview that, that should look a little bit better, kind of like that. So it runs with the text. You'd have to play with that a little bit. We do know that. Yeah, Catherine, it's absolutely 100% certain that any images on freeimages.com is free. They do vet those. They have some kind of a vetting process to make sure that's the case. I've used them for so many years, and it's a pretty widely known source. I'll share with you guys in a future webinar, possibly next week, a place where you guys can get, as many images as you want. There's some different places that you can go to do that. In fact, that'd be a really good topic. We may do that next week. Okay, so there you go. Anyway, you can put images in. And then just other normal things. You can actually add movies, YouTube videos. I mean, we won't have time to do all of this tonight. You can do bulleted lists, numbered lists. Anyway, it's very much like a normal word processor here. So hopefully, after you're done, and let's say we feel really, really good about this content, we think we did a good job, I typically will come up here and hit publish, okay? If I hit publish on this, it goes live on my blog the minute I hit publish. And if I view my blog now, sure enough, Thursday, April 30th, 2015, I have created this blog post. And notice that it shows up on top of my other blog post. So here was my first one. Here's my second one that shows up on top. And as I create a third, the third one will be on top of that, and then the fourth one on top of that. So anyway, you can continually add more and more blog posts to where eventually you might have 200 blog articles in your blog here, and it would be a really good idea to sort of categorize these, and you can do that. If I go back here and edit my blog post that I just created, you sort of categorize them with labels. So this one's about pearls, and if I hit done, I can categorize my blog posts on my website using these labels. We'll probably have to do more on that a little later, just because we're running out of time tonight. But that's one thing you can do. That's how you categorize. Okay, so I can update. So you can come in and edit these. You can delete a blog post if you hate it. You decide you want to get rid of it. You come here to posts. You can click delete. You can edit it. You can view it. For the most part, it's pretty easy to use. Okay. I think you'll find it very intuitive. Blogger, in my opinion, is the easiest blogging platform there is. I've mentioned before in other videos that there's another blogging platform out there that's widely used. It's called WordPress. And I use WordPress pretty extensively with my clients that are just doing a blog, and that's it. My clients that are doing an e-commerce site with a blog as a way to supplement it, we typically use Blogger. That's usually my recommendation, just because it's a little easier to work with. Okay? All right, so I'm going to open it up for questions here for just a sec. Give you guys an opportunity to ask anything you want. Like anything, I could probably sit here and talk you guys all to sleep tonight. We could lecture on using Blogger for the next 2 or 3 hours and certainly not cover all the different tools and functionality that's inside Blogger. I don't think it's wise for us to do that. I felt like if tonight I could give you guys the basics, then you should have no problem getting on there and trying it for yourself, and then you can work with your individual coach on individual issues, or we can do more of these webinars on the functionality here. But based on what you guys have seen tonight, does that make sense? Do you feel like after having seen this, you could probably go on and create a little content? And if not, what kind of questions and concerns do you have? Let's answer those before I let you go. These webinars are always kind of interesting because it's me talking at you, and it's like, okay, that makes sense, but you can't really learn this very well until you actually get your blog up and start doing it, right? So I know a lot of you guys here have blogs that you can do this with. Go ahead and start. And if you don't have a blog yet, just know that when you do, this will all apply. All of you guys are going to have a blog at some point, and you'll need to know this software, just like we've talked about it tonight. But I don't expect you to learn everything about it. There's still things I'm learning about the Blogger software. The important thing is, however, I know enough to where I can create good quality content. I can format it the way I want it to. I can make little edits and changes, and I feel like after you've seen tonight's webinar, you should be able to do the same thing, at least to some extent. Bill asked a question, when you do linking on words, like we did earlier here, should you change the font color? You should, although it automatically does it. So you can see you can see right here that when I roll my mouse over, it automatically changes it to blue. But it often it defaults to kind of it looks a lot like your text. So I usually try to get my links to stand out. The typical link color would be a blue color. So I could change that content. Let me go back in here. Got so many tabs open. Let me close some of these. Holy moly. Okay, here we go. So if I'm creating a link, I'm creating a new post right here. Test link. I could highlight this. Okay, and I could change the color to blue if it's a link. Yeah, so I think that's valuable, Bill. You don't want your links to show up exactly how your other content does. That gets really confusing for sure. Brenda says, are all the pictures you put on the blog have to do with the product you were talking about? No, not necessarily. If I'm writing a blog post about choosing or trying to figure out what's a real pearl versus a fake pearl, I might use a picture of somebody that has a really confused face at the top of my blog post. Right? Like that doesn't have, right? That relates, doesn't it? And I would use that on a blog post. It doesn't all have to be product pictures at all. That's why I kind of give you some of those other picture resources. Because if you can imagine, if you've got a blog, our blog purpose is to educate the public about our niche, and product pictures aren't going to always do that. You're going to want to use other pictures of other things. A good example of that would be, let's say you had a gardening blog, and you may sell gardening products, and you may occasionally work your gardening product pictures into your blog where appropriate. But a lot of times you're going to want to have pictures of stuff having to do with just gardens, right, where you're not trying to sell it. So yeah, you're going to want to have a big variety of pictures for sure. Good, Jim. I'm glad to hear that. Jim says he's going to start tonight as soon as we get finished. Good. And I think you'll find, Jim, it's easier than you could have imagined. Blogging's not too bad. Jada says it would be necessary to have an e-commerce site before starting a blog, right? Well, it depends on your strategy. I'll let you kind of work that out with your coach, Jada. But if your strategy is kind of like an e-commerce drop shipping strategy, then you want to set up your e-commerce website and then use the blog as a secondary way to, or not, I guess I shouldn't say it that way. You should use your blog as a piece of your marketing plan. So your whole purpose of your blog is to try to market that e-commerce site. But if you're trying to go about making money online a little bit differently, and you're doing more affiliate marketing and link posting, which I know some of you guys either want to do or will do at some point, then you start with a blog and you make the blog your sole purpose of what you're doing. So I'll let you consult with your coach on that one. That would really depend on what you guys want to do. I would say most of my clients go the e-commerce route because it's typically a little quicker, a little easier to get making money that way. But if you want to do the affiliate marketing, that works too, for sure. Alan, you say thanks for the demo. It makes a lot of sense. Still a little cautious. Good to know we can delete if we don't like what we've done. Yeah, absolutely. You can definitely delete, and you can create content without even publishing it. If you want to create some content and have your coach look at it, you can do that. You don't have to necessarily publish it live. Yeah, your links did, huh, Bill? Bill said his links default turned out to be a light gray color, and that sometimes will happen. So you can color your links if you want to, definitely. Yeah, Peggy, you can. Blogger can be used. It's a free software, so you can use it virtually with anything you're doing. I mean, there's probably hundreds, if not millions, of people out there that use Blogger as their main software. And believe it or not, it's free. There's no hosting fee on it. Google just pays the hosting themselves because they're Google and they're worth billions. So I guess it doesn't matter to them. So it's 100% free. Whereas e-commerce sites typically aren't. There's hosting involved. Blogs like this, there's no hosting at all, which is nice. So, okay, well, guys, I'm going to finish up. we'll do more on this hopefully next week. I'd like to talk to you guys about where to find good free images, so we may make that our topic. I want to work through blogging a little bit more because I just think it's such a great strategy for marketing, especially now in modern internet marketing. If you guys are capable of creating some decent content, it can make all the difference in the world to how well your site does. So we really want to focus on it. So that's it. I'll let you guys go. We'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. We'll do it again. If you've got a blog, go ahead and try this, and we can talk more about it next week. Thanks, guys. See you next time.